Hey everyone, I have occasionally lurked in this sub, but never thought I'm going to post anything here. I'm a firm materialist and a huge skeptic by nature, so what happened to me yesterday has left me completely baffled. I need to see if anyone has experienced something similar or can offer an explanation I haven't considered. First, some context to rule out the obvious. I wasn't sleeping, drowsy, or under the influence of anything. I was 100% awake on my bus ride home. I was actively listening to some cool punk music. I could even tell you which songs I was listening to. And I was paying close attention because my stop was coming up. I use wireless earbuds, the kind with a charging case. I only own one pair. I have never owned a second pair. This is a crucial point. As I approached my stop, I took the earbuds out of my ears and pulled the charging case from my bag to put them away. I opened the case and immediately froze in confusion. There was already a pair of earbuds inside. I looked down at my other hand, where I was definitely holding the pair I had just taken out of my ears. I was now holding two pairs of identical earbuds, 4 earbuds in total. My first thought was, my brain is being silly. I must have already put them away and forgotten. I got very confused, and I started to double and triple check. I looked back and forth between the pair in my hand and the pair in the case. They were both there, simultaneously. I reached into the case and physically touched the earbuds nestled inside. I closed the case and then opened it again. Yep, still there. I even picked one up. When I placed it back into the case, the tiny blue charging light lit up, just like it always does, and I heard the soft click of the earphones being placed into the case. So the case was definitely recognizing and charging a real physical pair of earbuds. At this point, I had to make a decision. I had my original pair in one hand and a fully functional new pair in the occupied case. So I zipped the case back into my bag. I saw the charging light even after I placed it in my bag and stuffed the original pair into my pockets. I was so stunned, I almost missed my stop. The weirdness wouldn't let me go. I stopped to get a sandwich, and while waiting, I had to check again. I was just confused about how I could possibly have another pair of identical earphones. So I took the case out of my bag and opened it again. It was empty. The extra pair was gone, just like that. The case I had seen with a pair of earbuds that I had touched that had triggered the charging light was now utterly empty. All I had left was the original pair, still sitting in my pocket. I put them back in the case where they belonged, and that was that. Back to one pair. So I started thinking about what had happened and tried to come up with an explanation. I can only find 2 plausible explanations. Either I was hallucinating in a way I never did before, or I just witnessed something impossible. I wasn't sleeping, drowsy, or under the influence of anything. I was 100% awake on my bus ride home. I was actively listening to some cool punk music. I could even tell you which songs I was listening to. And I was paying close attention because my stop was coming up. I did check it multiple times. I saw it, felt it, heard it. So it was either some strange, multi-sensory hallucination in a vivid and awake state triggered by nothing, or something truly strange. I'm leaning towards the first explanation, but it feels deeply unsatisfying because nothing was off about my day, and I never had anything similar to that.
Longtime lurker, but I've never actually posted in this sub before. I've had little moments here and there that made me feel like there might have been a glitch, but I've never experienced something as scary as this. A few hours ago, I was at Wegmans with my boyfriend. We had exactly 3 things to buy. We parked, walked in, and I let him lead the way through the aisles since everything we were getting was for him. I had my eyes glued to his back the entire time. One of the things he wanted was a 4-pack of his favorite hard cider, which is located in the far back corner of the store. As we approached the back part of the store, I saw my boyfriend turn around, smile at me, and then dip through a break in the aisle towards a small alcove where there was an open floor space with piles of stacked 12 packs of seasonal beers. As soon as I walked into that part, he was gone. Absolutely gone. I stopped in my tracks and called to him. I looked all around that alcove and behind the stacks of boxes thinking that he was messing with me, but he just wasn't fucking there. I was so confused. I walked out towards the aisle and I ran into him. He immediately turned around to look behind him, and then he asked me how I got there. According to him, and he's reading this as I'm typing it so that I'm getting the facts straight, I followed him right to the place where the coolers were. I was standing right next to him, and he says he definitely turned around and saw that it was me. After he grabbed what he wanted, he says that we proceeded to go around the corner, and then he bumped into me. I thought he was joking when he told me his version. Then I started to press him on it when we were in the car. At first, we got into an argument, him swearing that he wasn't pranking me, and me swearing up and down that no, I'm not crazy, he definitely smiled at me and then ran into that alcove. He swears on his life that I was right there when he pulled out the thing from the cooler that he wanted. And I swear on my life that I saw him smile at me and duck into the alcove, which is where I definitely went. I was not next to him by the coolers. We were both so freaked out by what happened that we got home, made a fucking diagram of the store so that someone can tell us that we're not both insane. I can't post an image here, so I'm going to leave a comment with the diagram we both came up with. The red arrows represent the path that my boyfriend and I both took into and out of the store. When our path diverges, blue is me, green is him. I don't know what the fuck happened, and neither does he. We're both very freaked out. Please talk some sense into both of us, because each of our experiences was so fucking real.
I had a glitch in the Matrix yesterday. My first. Turned right out of the vet's office, you can only turn right or left, and kept wondering where my exit was. In the country, so no real landmarks, and I thought somehow I missed my exit. I have driven to this vet for years and absolutely know I turned right. I turned on my maps to see how I could cut back to get to my exit. I was so confused because I could not fathom how I missed my exit. Maps indicated that my exit was 9.5 miles ahead of me, rather than the 2 to 3 miles it typically is. I am still struggling to compute this, but keep moving towards my exit and suddenly, I am passing my vet's office on my right. To do this, I would have had to mistakenly turn left, go 7 to 8 miles, make a U-turn and come back to be on the correct side of the road and going in the correct direction. I did not turn left in error. I did not make a U-turn. I did not ever exit off the road I was on. No idea how this happened, and I was really shook. So for the last 3 years, I haven't felt entirely here, I guess you could say. November 13th, 2022, I was living in Philadelphia, PA, originally from Athens, GA. And anyone who's familiar with Philadelphia knows about the crime, gang, and gun violence. I've never involved myself in anything of the sorts. I simply went to work, came home to my then GF, took the edge off, and rinse and repeat. One night after work, I went to the local corner store to go and get something to roll my luxury tobacco in. While walking to the store, across the small parking lot they shared with a Federal Donuts, 6 guys casually came out the store, all in black, but nothing off. We walked by each other with them being about 3 to 5 feet to my right side, and out of nowhere, I see through my peripherals, the shortest one in the middle of the group raises his arm
and before I could react or look over, boom! I felt the center of the pressurized air coming from the barrel of the gun directly to the center of my right cheek as he pulled that trigger. So I know his aim was not off from my face. Weirdly enough, as the first shot rang, I do not remember closing my eyes, but it was almost as if coming out of a coma instantly. My eyes were opening and I was already ducking and running to the store, and we were actually a little further from each other than initially, as if we just spawned an extra few feet of distance between us. I heard 4 shots in total and was shaken up by the near-death experience. But I asked the guy at the counter for my things, to which he gave me, after asking if people were shooting, I replied, "No, just probably playing a prank on Friday 13th, trying to scare people with blanks." Because, as I said, that shot was centered on my face and no further than 1 to 2 feet away from where his arm was raised at me, so there was absolutely no way I wasn't hit from a direct shot, with 3 following behind me. I left out the store and was greeted by a man in a Jeep Wrangler being irate about his vehicle, which had 2 bullet holes in the front bumper from where those shots had hit his vehicle while he was parked against the side of the corner store. At that moment, the realization hit me that they weren't blanks and I was actually shot at. The police were called, and skeptic about my story at first, considering I said I had no affiliation to any gang or criminal activity which warranted no aggression towards me. But after acquiring footage from the neighboring Federal Donuts, they confirmed the truth of my statements. Also, when searching the area, the officers had found 5 shell casings, not the 4 that I know I only heard. Many things since that day had felt weird. I remember it being Friday 13th, 2022, which is why I disregarded the incident as a prank, because, ironically enough, people will pull effed up pranks like that, especially in Philly. But when I look back now, November 13th, 2022 was on a Saturday. Air pressure comes out in a cone shape, with the highest point being the center of the shot and the weakest points being the outer edge of the air. I know what the center of that feels like, and it was directly centered onto my face from little to no distance. But somehow I wasn't hit by the first shot, nor the other 4 that I originally only believed to be. The moment I stated I didn't remember closing my eyes but was ducked and already running, along with me and the assailants being a good distance further away from each other than when the shot first rang. Almost as if we time-skipped 5 to 10 seconds in the future within that instant. Along with the fact I 100% know that I could only account 4 shots when 5 were actually sent. Things have felt off. Almost a disassociation type feeling, like finishing the end of a trip or waking up from anesthesia since then. Kind of foggy a bit. I'm mentally very strong, and little to anything has a lasting trauma effect to me. But following that day and randomly since then, I have had dreams of having an overhead view of my body laying in that parking lot and watching the assailants running away, while ambulance came, got me, and my funeral. One day, I was heavily lucid dreaming that I was at my grandma's house back in Georgia, and I was outside the home and decided to walk across the dirt road to her trailer. Once I entered, there were a lot of people. Those I recognized and those I didn't, but they were all dressed in black, suits and dresses. I felt a little discombobulated, like when you wake up from only a 2-hour nap after getting shit-faced. So I began casually asking for something to help, and as I did, no one responded or even acknowledged me. I began becoming frantic as no matter who I spoke to, touched, yelled at for help, no one even seemed to realize I existed. I put my arms above to the back of my head to kind of catch my grip for a minute, and I noticed on the back left side it was really wet and didn't feel like smooth. And when I looked at my hand, it was covered in blood, and I realized I touched an open hole in my head, and the gut-wrenching realization hit me that the setting of these people and their attire, along with seemingly not reacting to my existence, was because I was dead, and they were here for my death following the funeral. The disbelief and sickness I felt was too real, and I don't remember much after that, besides waking up, I guess. The Mandela effect has been strong since then. I began seeing things that weren't the same as before.
I knew nothing of the phenomenon prior to this incident. It was actually the odd things I noticed and began piecing together until it was an honest question of memory or reality for me that I found out what this theory was. One main example is this video of this female interviewer doing a segment with this guy on a baseball field. A ball comes from way behind them after a guy hits it. The man being interviewed turns around last second before the ball hurtling towards them hits the female interviewer. In the original video, the female was a blonde Caucasian female and the interview was taken during the daytime. Now, that video does not exist, and instead, the reporter is a black female and the interview takes place at night. I know that video from years and years of seeing it randomly, searching it up on occasions, and the fact I have pretty decent photographic memory. There are many other people who remember exactly as I do, yet there's no trace of that shared memory somehow. Something like Looney Tunes being tunes and not tunes is a small error that can be understandably mistaken, but an entire person changing and stuff like that is nothing that can be missed, especially when their entire race and features have been changed. I could go on about my personal experience and the way things around and within me have seemed different from slightly to undeniably apparent. But I know 100% the universe, God, or some crazy unexplained scientific probability happened and gave me another chance. I believe this consciousness is mine, but this universe isn't. And somewhere, I've been dead for the last 3 years, and that universe is me, has a family and friends that are living their life without me anymore. And the reason I counted one less bullet than what was actually fired was because in that moment was where I split from that fate, and instead, this me was safely running to the store and survived, while the other me experienced an opposite outcome. These are speculation to what I have factually experienced and just my interpretation to explain the unexplainable. Nothing is too far-fetched, and when things look like something, it's hard to not see it as it is, even if it contradicts what you thought was even possible. This isn't my truth, but it's the truth that I have witnessed, and no amount of denial can make me forget or change it. But it would feel nice to see if others have experienced similar occurrences.
I've had 2 glitches like this, where time just seemed to re-stitch or splice together with a few vital seconds missing. First, I was walking to the crossing of a busy road. I was wearing a brand new pair of shoes, so they were still very smooth on the bottom, not a lot of grip. As I reached the crossing, my foot slipped on the bumps they have on the paving stones there, the ones that help the visually impaired at crossings. There was a bus coming at full speed towards me. I remember being in a completely horizontal slide but hadn't quite hit the ground yet, maybe 3 or 4 inches above the ground, bracing for the impact to my head, back, but my body fully in the road. Like even if someone had been able to pull me back at that point with some sort of Herculean effort, the bus would still have hit my legs at the very least. I remember looking at the bus and just accepting my fate, knowing neither of us could stop or readjust in time to stop the collision. Next thing I knew, it was like time had rewound a few seconds. I was upright again, had just barely begun to slip, and a man next to me caught my arm and with barely any effort, because I had not yet fully lost balance, just gently stopped me from slipping further. The other was going down the stairs in my workshop. These stairs are incredibly steep and open on one side. TBH, they're probably a bit of a health hazard. Anyone who walks down them complains how scary they feel. At the bottom there was a wall and a sharp turn, so if you fell down them, you'd probably break your neck. I had stupidly taken my boots off and was walking around in a fluffy pair of socks for some reason. At the top step, my feet slid out from underneath me in a vicious swoop. Again, I remember being almost completely horizontal as my feet had gone completely out from underneath me. I remember groping the air and bracing for impact, wondering if I'd hit the back of my head on a step on the way down or if I should be more worried about breaking my neck at the bottom. And then, next thing I knew, I landed perfectly fine on my bottom on the last step. A few of my tools I'd been carrying came clanking down behind me, but they all missed me too. I was completely airborne when I lost my balance at the top.
There's no way I could have landed like I did without hitting at least a few steps along the way or hitting the wall at the bottom at great speed. It's like something gently lifted me up and placed me at the bottom of the stairs in those missing milliseconds. I'm sure people will think this is like when your brain goes into crisis mode and starts thinking through probabilities or calculating different escape routes or options or whatever. And I have experienced that too in emergencies, and I promise you, this was nothing like that. In both scenarios, I was past that point. I was fully fucked and out of options and almost certainly going to die or be very seriously injured. Then it was like time reset and I was absolutely fine. Both experiences had a very strong déjà vu, mystical, dreamlike quality to them, unlike any other emergency situation I've ever been in. A couple of weeks after the second experience, I noticed my mother's eyes were suddenly much lighter. We don't live in the same city, so don't see each other often. On a video call, and said to her, "OMG, your eyes look really blue in that light." And she was like, "What are you talking about? My eyes have always been blue." My mother has always been very insistent my whole life that her eyes were hazel, not brown, and would be very offended if anyone said they were brown, so I cannot tell you how much it freaked me out to suddenly hear her say they have always been blue like that. I honestly think I may have stepped into an alternate reality. I haven't seen her in person since, so not sure if they actually have changed color, but to even hear her say that and not claim they are hazel, which she has always been so insistent about, made me feel crazy.